Hey everybody, Aaron Bishop here with another Bishop's Blurb. In a previous video, we took a look at the word faith, and we discovered that the word faith doesn't always mean just simple belief in something without proof. Rather, in many cases, the word faith has to do with living a life of allegiance to a king or a nation or an ideal. It's loyalty or devotion to something that's greater than you, something worth living for, but more importantly, something worth dying for. Those of you who grew up in America and went to American public schools, you're familiar with this. Every morning as you went into school, you would stand from your seats and you would cover your hearts and you would say the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag, which is a symbol for the American ideal. And that pledge is something that is meant to remind you regularly, daily even, of your allegiance to your nation. Well, when we turn to the Bible, do we find a similar pledge, something that we are supposed to recite daily to remind us of our devotion to God? And the answer to this is yes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vayed. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol vavcha uv'kol nefshecha uv'kol meodecha. What I just spoke in Hebrew is called the Shema. It is a prayer that is spoken daily in Judaism, and it comes from Deuteronomy 6, verses 4 through 5. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. This passage has been prayed morning and evening by believers worldwide since at least the Second Temple period. And when Jesus was approached and he was asked what the greatest command was, in Mark chapter 12, he answers with this, verses 28 through 30. And one of the scribes came up, and hearing them disputing with one another, and seeing that he answered them well, asked him, "Which commandment is the most important of all?" And Jesus answered, "The most important is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength." This is the most important statement in the Torah. Perhaps the most important statement in the entire Old Testament. Why is that? It's because it is a declaration of allegiance. The pledge of allegiance to the God of Israel, to the God of creation. And this declaration of allegiance, it requires a lot from the one who takes this pledge. So let's break it down and take a look at it real quick. It begins with who God is. He is the God of Israel. He is singular. There are no other gods next to him. There is one and only one God worthy of honor, glory, praise, and allegiance. Then in the next verses, it gets into what is expected from us. Love God with three things. With all your heart. Now in the ancient Near East, the heart was not the metaphor that it is in the modern world. In the ancient Near East, the heart was the seat of the intellect. It was where your thoughts occurred, where decisions were made or plans were formed. These qualities of the heart, they didn't shift in ancient culture until around 500 years after Jesus. So every time you read the word heart in the Bible, you can legitimately replace it with what we understand the brain to be. And so we find here what's being described isn't simply an emotional response. It is a logical and a reasonable response. Love God with every thought in your head. Number two, the soul, the nefesh. Again, this word has changed in meaning in the modern world. The soul, as we commonly conceptualize it, is the ghost in the machine. It's that unseen mover within you. But that's not how the ancient world saw the soul. The soul was the entirety of a person. It wasn't something that was different from your physical self. Your physical self was indeed part of it, as was your personality, as was your honor and every other status that went with you. You were a soul. We have artifacts of this in the English, such as there were 76 souls on the airplane, or 92 souls went down with the ship. The soul means an entirety of a person. When we say that, we don't mean that only their unseen ghost went down or was on the plane. We mean that the entire person was there. Finally, the last word is one that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's the word meodecha, and it comes from the word meod, and it's a word that means exceedingly or much. Love God with all your exceedingly. Love God with all your muchness. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But as you stop and you consider it, you recognize that it means everything outside of you that you have control over. Everything that is yours. When I say this, I prefer to say resources instead of strength. Because strength, we can understand strength to mean muscles or might. But when you say resources, it's everything that you control. It's everything that you own. It's everything that's under your authority. Love God with that. So when we put this all together, what we find is a series of concentric circles that get bigger and bigger as they move outward. You have your heart, which is inside of you. It is something that's unknown, unseen. No one else knows it but God. Then you have your soul, you, your personality, your thought, your body, everything that you are. And then you have everything under your control and under your power, everything in your possession. This is how we are to love God. And this is what allegiance to God looks like. This is what's asked of us when it comes to having faith in God. The Shema is faith spelled out. And this is our pledge